awesome.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very cool.
so
So
I was born and raised in Hollywood, but I after having my son, um I actually got pregnant in Hawaii and then went back to LA to have my son, and then I was like, "You know what?" When he was around like 1 years old, I was like, "I don't know about this. Like it's not like the best place to raise kids."
yeah.
There's just nothing to do, and it was like concrete jungle. Like we lived right in Hollywood, so it was like super like just homeless people everywhere and dirty, and I was like, "You know what? This is not the place." So we came back, and I don't know if I'm going to live here forever, but
Yeah.
definitely for now.
That's pretty cool. No, that's cool. That's wild. You live your story again, IMDb and things like that, and never right. So your parents are immigrants, and they went to LA. Like that's where they came from, Hungary.
Yes. So
Wow.
my dad's Hungarian, my mom's Russian.
Okay.
And they met on a bus in Hungary, and fell in love and all that, and then they had to escape because it was the times, it was fucking crazy over there,
yeah.
so they escaped through an Italian refugee camp, and from there they asked, this is the story my mom tells me, I don't know how true this is, but they asked her, where do you want to go, to California or to New York? And she was like, where's Disneyland? And so that's how we ended up in California.
Wow,
I
look
don't
at
know
that.
how
The New
true that
York
story is.
or that well, it's funny. That's like the same, and it's funny that you went into that career of Hollywood because you obviously grew up there, but that's like the old adage in like the 70s and 80s, like actors who weren't from New York or LA, they had to make their decision. Like, do I go to New York and try the Broadway thing and maybe something's shooting there, or do I go to LA? That's funny
Yeah.
that they gave somebody that was coming here those two choices.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
meant to be. Yeah, no, I don't know. California was a lot, or I don't want to say California, like Los Angeles area where I grew up, like, because we moved all over. Like my parents bought houses and flipped them, and then we like would move, and that's how we kind of stayed afloat.
Yeah.
Um, so we lived all over, like total gypsy style, and it was so different back in the day. And now it's just, I don't know, it just got so shitty. It was like horrible the
Yeah.
last time I went. So I'm like, you know what? And New York is too busy for me. New York is like, I go there and it's just, it scares the shit out of me. It's like there's
Yeah.
so much going on, so many people, like fucking you can't see the sky. There's so many buildings, the cars constantly zipping by. It's like it's fun for like a little while, maybe like a weekend, but to
yeah.
live there, like I couldn't do it. I'm too much of like an empath when it comes to like picking up on energy and shit. I would be like,
Yeah.
I would go crazy.
Yeah, just the vibe. I'm in Jersey. I grew up in Jersey, and I work in New York, but I only have to go like 4 times a year, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
I don't have to do that commute. But I remember when I did work there. Yeah, it's definitely like it changes you because there's so busy. Everything's delayed. You got to take the train. Everybody's miserable. So
Oh my God,
I
fuck
feel
the
you on that.
train. I was so terrified to take the fucking
Oh
train.
man.
I literally would be like anything like, but cabs are expensive, and I don't know how it is now,
Yeah.
if there's Ubers or what, but it was just like it was so crazy. Like it's such a fast-paced lifestyle,
Yeah.
and I mean, have you been to Hawaii?
No, no, I want to. I bet you it's the complete
It's
opposite.
it's the complete, I mean, it's like,
Nice.
and it's so funny because California is like total middle ground. It's like you can be like kind of fast, but there's also like a slow, vibe to it. Whereas like Hawaii is just like, I mean, I grew up, driving the 405, traffic jam, like fucking cursing people out, like mad all the time at everything. And then I moved to Hawaii, and it's like we live on Kauai. So it's like one main road that goes like, it doesn't go all the way around the island, but it goes like all the way from where we are, west side, all the way up to the north shore. And it's literally like the fastest you could go is like 45 or 50. Like you can't, you know what I
Wow.
mean? So from that to this, it was like, it was actually nice though, because now that I'm in the like relaxed mode, it's like, now I like go back to LA and I'm like, what the fuck is everybody so angry about? Like, chill out. Like you'll get there, It's like totally changed me.
No, it's true. We moved to Portland, Oregon for a few years, me and my wife, and we are very laid back for New Jersey. People don't even like, they think I'm from like California, just my voice and the way I
Yeah.
talk. But even us, because we're slow paced, like mellow. And I
Yeah.
remember people be like, whoa, you guys are a little aggressive. And we're like, oh man, you should meet some of the other people that we know. But But it was interesting reading that you grew up there. So at like what point growing up, you said you're moving around, flipping
Yeah.
houses. At what point were you? What was it first modeling? Did you model first, or was it going right into commercials?
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned Portland, Oregon. So we lived in Portland at one point too. So when I was,
Really nice.
yes, we lived in Gresham.
Okay,
Um,
cool. That's yeah, we lived not far from Gresham. Like we lived
yeah.
and it's funny, I don't know what it was like back then, but growing up in New Jersey and like you growing up in LA, if somebody goes in Hawaii and they go, "Oh, don't go near that neighborhood." And you're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I grew up in LA." Like from Jersey, like the town next to me was like so rough growing up.
Yeah.
So I remember in Portland, people were like, "Hey, man, watch out in Gresham," and it was like maybe a little rough, but I'm like, "Oh, that's totally fine." But no, that's cool. Gresham's a cool area.
Yeah, it was I was super young when we lived there. So I was born in LA in Hollywood, and then I think I was like, I don't even know, like maybe 5 or 6. We moved up to Portland. And God, it's been so long since I've talked about this, but I think my mom's best friend at the time had like a daughter that did like modeling or something. And my mom like decided to, try it out with me or whatever. And so I did modeling for like a little while. I didn't enjoy it. I've like
Yeah.
never I never enjoyed it because it's just like I was good at it. Like I'm good at, like striking a pose and like all that shit. Like once you learn your angles, like I feel like you can do that super easily. Like I
Yeah.
have cousins that would like I'd be at like house parties and my cousins would be like, Agnes, can you please show us how you do that face, like smoldering face? Like, how do you do it? Like, how do you put your lips like that? And I'm just like, guys, like just don't overthink it, It's like I don't know, I have a gift. But it's so stupid. But yeah, I just never it was never like exciting enough for me, I guess. And then I did a competition called fuck, what was it called? IMTA, I think. And it was down here in California, so we came back down and I won like the all around or whatever like big prize that you can get, and I got my first manager there that
Nice.
signed us. And then that was it. And then it took like no time. I my first job was the soap opera. I was on a soap
Yeah,
opera
that's
called
crazy.
the
Right out of the gate. Did you
right out of the
do
gate.
any or did you do any when you got the manager? Did they do any acting classes or did you do anything like that before?
No,
Wow, that's awesome.
no, yeah, it was, I mean, honestly, being on that soap opera was like an acting class because it
Oh
was,
yeah,
yeah, it was,
yeah,
I mean, I was like memorizing like 20 pages of dialogue where it's like, soap operas, they just talk and talk and talk and talk. But yeah, I was like memorizing, that's where I got my memorization, working with other actors, different directors, like it was like a full on like acting class. And it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. My mom pulled me from it after like a year and a half because she was like, my daughter's going to be a superstar and you can't stay on a soap opera for that. But I really enjoyed it. Like everybody, the cast members, everybody was older than me, like really older than me, but they were all so sweet. Like um yeah, it was a great experience. And then yeah, and then we left and started like auditioning and doing that whole shit, but it was so different back then. Like you actually went into the rooms and like met with
oh
people
yeah,
and
yeah.
auditioned, and now it's like everything's like this, it's like, but you're putting yourself on tape and you're meeting people through the phone, and it was so different back in the day. I wish we could go back to that.
So how'd they write you off the show when
Oh
you
my
guys?
god.
Are you still alive in the show?
Yeah, so she's
Okay,
still
good.
the character is still alive. I think what they did was they aged her. They like
Oh, okay.
she grew up like 5 years like all of a sudden or something like that if I remember correctly. But Bridget Forrester was my character name. And I really honestly like there's been times where I'm like I wouldn't mind going back to soap operas like
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
You
Like it
could be
was
like
so
the other girl took over your life or something. That'd
yeah.
be they would write that in.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've like seriously thought about it because it was fun work. It was, it was hard. It was hard work, but it was just so like fun and there and simple, and it wasn't, it wasn't complicated. Maybe I was young and I don't remember and it was a shit show, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was great.
No, because it's so rigorous. Like I talked to like Kevin Spiritus, who was on what show was he on? Him, like so many people I've talked to that are on soaps, and
Yeah.
some did it in the middle of their career, but to do it at the beginning, that's like you said, it's like a boot camp because it's like hey, we want our right because summer's off, right? Wasn't it
Yeah.
summer's off? And it
Yeah.
was like really quick shooting, like
Yeah.
not a million takes because everybody was like, all right, let's get it done. And yeah, it
Exactly.
was like a
Yeah.
well-oiled
It was
machine.
just yeah, it was so simple. It was very simple and it was just like, you learned your lines and you went to work and then it was like but it was I mean, I think I actually the only thing that I didn't like about it and everybody had to do it was the body makeup. Holy shit.
Body
They
makeup.
had oh yeah, like they had like full on rooms. I remember even I was 11 when I did that and I was head to toe body makeup. Like if you wore a dress or anything that showed like skin, I don't know if they still do it, but back in my day, you went into this like area and they had these huge sponges. You know those like sea sponges that you can get to like
Yeah, yeah,
bathe
yeah.
with? So they had those huge sponges and then just like these huge bottles of like it looked like paint, but it was like body makeup. Maybe it was paint. And they just like
Wow.
just yeah, and they just freaking patted you down and it was so cool. It was like I mean, I liked it because it was, I was young and it was like fun or whatever, but that
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. That's the only thing that I don't know nowadays if they do anymore, but I'm curious to see if they do.
Well, they always look so tan on those shows. They always look the same, so maybe that's why they do it because
Oh
they
yeah.
shoot. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know, but that's cool that your mom was looking out for you. Because you never know. Like you could have been on that. They could have wrote you off anyway. But then from there, it's cool that she was in your corner, because
Yeah,
then you
no,
were
for
on so
sure.
many shows right after that.
Yeah, it was definitely I don't mind that she took me off. I think my dad was like more pissed off because he was like, dude, she's happy. We're getting money. Like, and I could have stayed. I think I could have stayed for like, forever if I really, wanted to.
Yeah,
But, or at least, for a lot longer than that. But, no, it was cool though, because then it was like, I got into like, guest stars and,
yeah.
um, yeah, it was, I think what was my cousin just sent me a screenshot of my first movie that I did. Oh my God. And now I'm like blanking on the
Was that
freaking
Glass
name.
House like the first movie you did?
The Glass House was the first big movie that I did. The Shrunken City,
Oh, I see
bro.
that on here. Yeah, from '98.
The Shrunken City. That was oh my God, that was yeah, we shot that in Romania. Um and that's actually we went back well not for that movie, but I went back for Blood and Chocolate and we shot that there too, but it was in Romania and it was like such a big deal. I remember like my mom, we're still friends, me and Michael Malota from the movie and his mom and my mom
Oh,
are
that's
still really
cool.
good friends. Yeah.
Who did
Um
that movie? Was that Full Moon?
I don't even remember.
I was going by the director Ted Nicolai. He does a lot for like Full Moon.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. Yeah, Ted, he was so sweet. Oh my God, it couldn't have been a better first like movie experience. Like it was so cuckoo and weird, but it was so fun. Like we got to like work at like these not dumps but these like places where just like there would be like these mountains of like tires and just
Oh wow.
rubbish that people throw out and we were kids like climbing shit and we had to like find this fucking thing in the mess and oh my God it was the best time ever. But yeah it was cool. The soap was good and I think I wouldn't be mad if I was still on it but I'm not mad that my mom pulled me from it.
Yeah. No, it was Full
Yeah.
Moon, but it might have been under somebody else because there's like 3 production companies. But for like 4 years, Full Moon does all like mostly just horror. But then in
Yeah.
like 4 years, I have one around here somewhere behind me. But it's like they did family movies. It was called they went under the name Full Beam Entertainment, but because I know whenever I think Romania, I'm sure other people shot there back then,
Oh
but
yeah.
most Romanian movies were like Full Moon or like yeah, the ones that wanted to save a few bucks going over there. But that's pretty awesome. That
Oh
young, you got to
yeah.
travel into
Yeah.
Europe at that age, you know?
Yep. We did. It was I went with my mom and Michael and his mom. We all traveled together and I remember listening to I was really into like hip hop and rap at the time and I was listening to like I think it was I don't know if I don't want to say because I don't even like remember, but I totally remember just like listening to rap and Michael was like, "What are you listening to?" And he was like the Sublime kid, like into
Oh,
Sublime and
nice.
fucking shit like that. So he'd be like, "Can't believe you're fucking listening to that shit." Like we wasn't talking like that. We were young, but he was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, that's so not cool. Like rap sucks." So I was like, "Okay." But yeah, good times were had for
Probably
sure.
Eminem-ish, because we're about the same age, like Eminem-ish, like that
Yeah,
era,
it
like
was.
Jay-Z probably.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was P Diddy's, or I don't
Oh
even know
yeah.
what it was called back then, but that
I think he was Puff Daddy back then, yeah.
Puff Daddy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Puff Daddy's that big album, I forget what it was called. It was like a black, I remember black like cover on it. I forget what it's called. But anyway, yeah, that's what I was listening to when I was flying over to Romania to do my first movie.
That's all. Was that during Bold and the Beautiful, or is that just before?
um that was that after?
No, it's like right around the same time. Maybe an IMDb is never right. Oh no, it's probably during, because it has you on Bold and the Beautiful with 97 to 99, and Shrunken City came out in 98. So maybe it was like
Yeah,
a
maybe. I
summer
don't even
you
remember.
went over.
Yeah, I don't even remember. But yeah, it was somewhere around there. I mean, that was like, yeah, those years were such a blur. It was
Yeah.
like,
Well, you're busy,
yeah,
especially as a young kid. You're going through. My wife's a middle school teacher, so you're going through all these changes and everything. And
yeah,
then, and you're busy. So you had like The Fugitive. You're on Pack Blue, which I used to love watching as a kid. And
yeah.
then like 2001, like you said, that's a big movie, The Glass House. Like
Yeah, that
that's
was that was I
huge.
remember auditioning for that in we auditioned at in Venice Beach, or was it Marina Del Rey, Venice Beach, somewhere over there. Um and I remember them just telling me to what like wear uh platforms like high heels, because Lily Sobieski's like fucking 6'2". She's like so tall and
Uh,
beautiful. So they were like, just wear high heel. And I'm 5'8", so I was like, I wasn't really worried about it, but I just remember wearing these like big clunky like huge shoes to the audition. And I'm pretty sure I saw Mandy Moore was there. She was auditioning as well.
uh,
Um, yeah, and there was like but it was like Mandy Moore. I remember seeing her and I was like, "Aren't you a singer?" Because she came out as like singing first, and then she was at this audition. I'm like, "What's going on?" Um, but no, that was yeah. So yeah, we auditioned for that, and that was really fun. It was silly. It was fun. It was fast. It wasn't like too much work. But
yeah.
yeah, it was definitely a big deal. It was like, okay, now we're getting into like big, production movies. Like I remember we had a chair on set, and you
Wow,
can
that's
have like,
cool.
yeah, and like you could have like coffee and tea, and they had like the craft service, and I was like, holy shit, I made it. It wasn't even because Rita Wilson was in that, if I don't right? Rita Wilson, I'm pretty sure, was in that.
That's pretty
Or
rad.
she
Was Tom Hanks hanging out?
no, so he never, but she was it. I think she was. I'm pretty sure she was. But no, or she visited the set or something. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. I think I was like what, 14 or something, 15, 14, something
Yeah,
like
probably
that.
right.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a pretty cool like first big movie for sure.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like no matter when you get any of those roles, but when it's early on, it just gives you that momentum. Still, you're a kid, no fear. So it's not somebody that's just starting like later. But that's monster. And then right after that, what was pretty cool is a lot of the stuff you were in. You had like multiple episodes, like 24. Alias was like a two-parter. But another huge movie like the next year, Murder by Numbers. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool to have those back-to-back years. You have pretty big movies.
Yeah, it was yeah. It was, man, I when you're that young, I was that young. It was really rough because I I was modeling for like most of my childhood, and then my mom is like super Russian and super strict, so it was like, I could never really go to my friends' houses. We moved so much that I didn't really ever go to school. So I didn't really have that sense of like, like friends and hanging out and having fun and growing up and like doing this and doing that. But I would hear it from other people, from my cousins, from friends
Yeah.
or people at school or whatever, and I'd be like, man, I'm missing out at life. And so all of that, all those years, we were like, me and my mom in a car, going to some audition, coming from an audition, going to a meeting, changing agents, like doing all this crazy stuff that normal kids don't do. And I just
Yeah.
remember being like, man, I just want to be normal. I want to be normal. I want to be normal. And yeah, so it was it was weird. I really enjoyed it because I was good at it. Um and it was, it was exciting, but at the same time I was like, I want to like I remember for some reason, I think it was my mom's good friend's son, Henry. He had his homecoming, and I didn't even know what that was, but I like, it was like, "Oh, you get a dress and he takes you here and you get like a thing on your fucking wrist." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm missing this." Like it was such a big deal to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember actually, I think I did go to his. He invited me to his own
Oh,
homecoming and
that's
I went with
awesome.
him. Yeah, because I was like, you know what, like it was such a big deal because you're a kid and that kind of crap is exciting to you, but yeah, but and then at the same time, you're on set with like Sandra Bullock, Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling, and you're just sitting there like, holy shit, like I'm doing this movie. So it's such a weird, that's why we're all fucking actors are all crazy. I swear to God,
Yeah,
because it's
no.
like, you know what I mean? It's like the stuff that we do is like so weird. Like it's just
Yeah,
bizarre.
especially as a child, because when you're a child, you're like, that's all you know. When you start
Yeah.
that young, like I talked to a couple people that have been acting since they were on like My Three Sons in like the '60s. This guy Stanley Livingston, like he acted his brother. Then he stopped acting because he got to the point when he was like 20s. I don't want to do this anymore. His brother's
Yeah.
still acting. His brother's got to be like 70 something and hasn't stopped since then. And it's just one of those things. And then you have to the weird transition. So even if you were on Bold and the Beautiful
Yeah.
and you got to this point, it would have been like, how do you get that transition from the girl we know to the woman? Because that's what happens to a lot of child actors. Like, what are we gonna do with you now? It's like, well, I'm still a person. I can still play
Yeah.
things, but we view you as the 13-year-old, like Macaulay Culkin went through.
Yeah, and for me it was even harder because I was always called like an old soul. You're such an old soul. You're such an old soul. Like I was always, I don't know, I think because of my mom and how we were raised, mixed with just doing like, working at such a young age, I grew up so
Yeah,
fast and I could like hold a conversation. Like I was hanging out on Bold and Beautiful with like 50, 60 year olds, like every day, like chit chatting. You know what I mean? It's like, so I
yeah,
grew up so fast and I think that all the roles that were like high school and college and like teeny bopper movies, they wanted like really teeny boppy kids. Like I would come in and I'd be like, sup, and they'd be like, they want somebody that's like, oh my God, hi, like
yeah, yeah,
I'm here, this is so exciting. And I was never that type of person, so I would go in to be like, you're such an old soul. Like I don't know how many times I heard this, and it was really hard. And then and that was like, when I was 15, 16, like I never got those teeny bopper things ever. And
yeah,
then as I got older and older, it always kept like changing to the next age. It would be like, okay, now I'm 21. Now I can do the teeny boppy stuff, right? Because and it'd be like, no,
yeah,
you're too, you have to wait now until you're 35 when you're like, opposite, like, whoever. And I'm just like, am I ever going to have a chance?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
doing my age stuff. So, I was always playing older. I was always like, doing dramatic, like drama stuff because, I could like tap into that easily. But yeah, it's such a wild ride, man. Yeah, going through that, especially when you're like going through puberty at the same time, it's so, and a girl. And I think I don't know, maybe it is tough for guys too, but I feel like as a
No, no, I hear. No, I understand. There's a lot more going on in a woman's. No, I get it. And you know, it's funny. I've been called an old soul, and same with my wife. And I think it's people that go through like hardships as a kid,
yeah,
like like
yeah,
yeah. So it makes you
yeah,
like grow up so fast, and you
yeah.
like realize things a lot younger. You're like, oh man, things aren't good here.
Yeah.
Like and other kids are like, my parents love each other. It's like I don't know if that is really the case.
Yeah, and that's exactly, it's so funny because right around Murder by Numbers. So I left Murder by Numbers set the last day and I flew to Dayton, Ohio to do Blue Car. And
Oh, nice.
that was like crazy because my parents were separating like
Oh,
right around Murder by Numbers. I know I was 15 for sure, and they were separating, and I was like just like that, like growing up, going to school and talking to, like, I would talk to my friends, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, my parents have been separated, or my parents aren't together," and I'd be like, "Oh, pff, it's never gonna happen to me. My parents are never gonna separate."
yeah.
And then they fucking separated, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And my dad moved back to Hungary, so it wasn't like I
Wow.
got to see him and stuff. Yeah, so it was, and I was like a daddy's girl growing up. Like I was always like, closer to him, or, it was a better relationship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we flew to Dayton, Ohio, and I just remember like that movie was just full on a therapy, like, the whole thing was just a therapy session, like, everything came out in that movie, like, all my feelings, all my tears, like, fears, everything, it was crazy, but that's,
And it was a drama?
yeah, so Blue Car
Oh,
was
cool.
yeah, it was a super dramatic. It was like a coming of age
Wow.
story of this like student who gets involved with her like main teacher basically. And he was played by Davis Strathairn, and it was just like, I mean, it was full on like therapy session for me. It was so crazy. But that movie like
Wow.
really, that's the like year after Murder by Numbers and Blue Car, I was like, okay, this is really what I want to do for myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like my mom pushing me anymore, but yeah, that was crazy times. Crazy
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're like, as bad as the situation it is for your career, it's something you could like tap into. And it's yeah, because from there you like I mentioned before, like 24, you're on for 5 episodes, which is rad. And like
Yeah,
all
and
those years you're always working.
yeah, no, I was fortunate and lucky enough to always I was like always a working actor. I was really I didn't notice it at the time, but as I would talk to people when I got older, they'd be like, "Man, you're like a working actor. You like constantly doing stuff." And I was really fortunate, but I was 24 was actually I remember going to that audition. I knew how big the show was. I didn't watch it. I still have to
Yeah.
this day not watched one episode of 24.
Not
I
even your
don't
own. Do
even
you watch your
I
stuff?
sometimes, like,
Wow. Okay, cool.
yeah, I really don't like, um, I don't think I watched, or I might have seen I hate watching myself because I just nitpick myself like crazy.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like really, I'm really bad with that. So not nowadays, maybe I wouldn't be as bad. I just kind of like laugh at myself. But back then it would be like, oh my God, what was I thinking? What is that hair? What's that outfit? Like just horrible. So, but I just remember knowing it was like a huge show, and I went in and I remember sitting there and there was like this big like emotional scene and I just remember fucking killing it and I was like, if I don't get this, I swear to God, I don't even know. Like that was the best performance of my life. And they called me and I was so freaking excited because it was just, I mean, it was huge at the time. Like it's still huge.
Yeah.
People, it's like,
Oh,
people like went crazy for it. So
and
yeah,
that's
it
all he does
was
now. All the Kiefer shows now are like, because he was kind of typecasted from that, because how good he was. Every
yeah,
show, it's like, man, we need Kiefer to play this sort of role again. Even
yeah.
Designated Survivor, he had like these weird elements in that. He's just a normal guy, but he's like somehow getting out of these like situations that no like Speaker of the House would be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's that happens. And
Yeah,
I didn't actually mind like I was always good at drama and I wanted to do drama. And then actually when I started doing horror movies too, like what was my first horror movie or like scary movie? Venom?
yeah.
Was it
There's
Venom?
Venom. I don't know. Was The Woods a horror movie too? That was the next year.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, The Woods was like it's definitely like a thriller horror, but it was like it's kind of like a strange I don't know, Lucky McKee, he's like a really um he's different. Like it wasn't, just like a slasher, like, like a scary. It was like, it was deeper than that, I felt like. But yeah, I didn't even when they were because back then people were really, really scared to be like typecasted, especially into horror movies, because
Yeah,
you don't want to be like the scream queen. And I would be thinking at the time, like, why? Like that's so cool, like and horror movies are fucking hard. Like they're harder to do than like any other work I've ever done. You're like
yeah.
in the cold all the time because it's always at nighttime, night shoots, fake blood, fucking screaming your lungs out, like losing your voice every fucking like it was Venom was really, really rough. Like that was a crazy, crazy shoot. It was really, really hard. It was a lot of fun, but it was definitely like crazy. And then Vacancy too. It was like I think a 3-week shoot or 2-week shoot, or I don't know, I don't remember
Wow.
exactly, but I know that like for it was like night shoots for like 11 or 12 days. It was crazy. Coming home and it's like sun out and you're going to sleep and then going to work and your body and like what it does to you. It was so strange, but I yeah, I didn't mind it at all. I don't think like I shied away from like wanting to be scream queen. It was so, but back in the day in Hollywood, it was like, oh my God, if you do that, like you're never gonna win an Oscar, you're never gonna get nominated, you're like gonna go down, that fucking horror movie path. And now that people don't even, I don't even think people think like that, anymore. It's so different.
Yeah, no, I think some people were like, I want to avoid it, and other people will be like, maybe I can be Jamie Lee Curtis, or maybe I could be
Like,
Kevin
yeah.
Bacon, but
Yeah, or
but it sometimes it just didn't, or even Crispin Glover. There's so many ones that go against the rule, but then there's other people you're like, why weren't they in more? Like, there's so
yeah.
many people that you're like, why not? But maybe that was the case. Like Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, she was on a big show in the 80s, but then after that, maybe she just didn't want to act anymore. But she was like so good.
Yeah, no, I remember when I did Venom, the uh director who um I was not like super fond of. We didn't really get along that well. But I remember I was doing some kind of like some shot, and I just came out of like a water, like I forget, like I think I came out of like a fucking pond or something like that, and I was like soaking wet, and he was just like, he looked at the frame and he was like, oh my god, you look so much like Sigourney Weaver right now, like in Aliens. And I was like,
Whoa.
what? Like, that was like the biggest compliment you could give me. I was like, that is
Yeah.
so badass, because like I've always been drawn to like strong like female, like actors and actresses, to like always like Angelina Jolie. I was like obsessed after Girl Interrupted. I like watched that movie every day and before every audition, because I just wanted to like be her, like she was just so cool. And tough and like gritty and not like always super pretty, you know what I mean? Cuz for me it's like when you
Yeah.
that pretty thing is just boring, you know what I mean? Like you could be pretty and blah blah blah, but there's something about being like a badass or like an action star, like doing like, like Sigourney Weaver and Alien, like she's so fucking cool, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah,
real.
so
Like, you feel
that's,
like it's real. It's not like a facade. You're like, man, she's
yeah.
really badass.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And it's just like, it's and a lot of, maybe she's not like, maybe she, had like stunt people do her stuff or whatever, but for some reason, like like if you look at Angelina Jolie, she's a fucking twig. She's so skinny.
Yeah.
She has big boobs, but like other than that, she's a twig. And you're like, if it was anybody else like that skinny, you'd be like, oh, what is she gonna do? Like, are you serious? Like, yeah, she's really gonna fucking do that. But for some reason, they have her and Sigourney Weaver both have that like you just believe them, you know what I mean? Because they are
Yeah.
like badass. And I love that because I watch a lot of these like other, movies where it's like a badass role or, they're like kicking up, beating up somebody. And I'm like looking at the actress like, oh my God, are you serious? Like that I can't get into it because I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
all
I
right,
don't believe that you could do that. But
sure, sure.
I've only talked to like a few people. So this is like a one-off story, but Sigourney Weaver, when she was filming in Ghostbusters, I interviewed one of the special effects guys that was in the chair, like when the creature grabs her, like the
Yeah,
dog, and then brings her into the kitchen. So they did a take, and the Ivan Reitman said like, "Oh, we want to do it a little bit harder. Is that okay, Sigourney?" And she went to the guy Steve and was like, "Steve, do it as hard as you need to." And he like hit her in the, and she's like, "Do it again harder for the next
yeah.
take." And that's why it looks like so realistic. Like, it really looks like that hand is like really like grabbing her face. But yeah, she
Yeah, that's
seems pretty
awesome,
badass.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. Like when you really like get into it like that, like that's the best, it's I've worked with actors that are like that are like, oh, let's go for it. And then I've worked with actors who are just like, I
Yeah,
just, like it's not, it's not they don't like it's not they don't get gritty with it. And it's that's the cool thing about my career. I have to say is like I never there was definitely way more like cool experiences and cool actors that I've worked with compared to the ones that were like kind of shitty. But um yeah, it's and that's, changing the different genres too. It's like I've never really done comedy
yeah,
um because I was always afraid. I was like, I don't know if I'm funny. Um and like the timing and stuff. And there's also like different types. Like there's, you know, like slapstick comedy, like just crazy out there, like whatever. And then there's like, comedies like, romantic comedy and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would definitely like, like to do that too. But I think action movies and stuff. I think I was just thinking about this the other night. I was like, we need like an action star chick. Me, of course.
yes,
Um
of course.
to like do that. You know what I mean? I just watched what's his name? Sylvester Stallone's documentary. Have you seen it? It just came out on
Oh, I didn't
Netflix.
watch it. Was it good?
It was so good, and I was just like,
Yeah.
"Man, like, that
Nice.
guy." Because I never really, I was more like an Arnie fan, I wasn't really like a
Did you
Sylvester
watch his
Stallone fan.
documentary? Isn't it funny? They've had that rivalry, and
Yeah.
Arnold's comes out like a month before. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Arnold's was great too, and I love him because my dad actually, like, looks like if you took Arnold Schwarzenegger and John Travolta and they had a baby, that's what my dad looks like. And
Really? That's
so
great.
yeah, so I've always liked Arnold, and I just love him. He's such a, like, he's just so fucking crazy, but he's gotten so much out of life, and he's done
Oh
so
yeah.
many different things. It's like insane. So I really respect both of them, but no, the Sylvester one's really good because
Cool.
he like wrote and directed and produced and just like did everything, and he made his own thing, which is so cool. And I was like having a cigarette, and I was just like, man, like I need to, like, I wish I was more because I'm not. I always said this, like, people would be like, "Oh, do you wanna direct or do you wanna produce?" And I'd be like, no, I wanna be an actor." Like, I've never really had the bug to, like, direct or, like, produce or write. Like, I'm a decent writer, but I don't think that's my thing, It's, like, not my calling, and I don't know,
Yeah.
I've always just been like, "I'm gonna do the acting thing." Like, if I win an Oscar one day for acting, then, maybe I'll think about doing some other shit. But you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I just wanna focus on that. Like, I'm just old school like that. Now it's like actresses and actors have like a skincare line and a fucking
I
production
know.
company
Goop.
and
Yeah,
a
yeah.
clothing brand and
Yeah.
fucking this and that, and they're on a charity, and it's like, man, what happens to just like, you're an actor, you act, and you know what I mean, like, stay in your lane kind of
Yeah.
thing. I don't know.
No, I know what you're saying. But no, Stallone, yeah. He's one of those guys like I'm not saying he wouldn't have made it afterwards, but if he would have took the money for his script and not
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I want to star in it,"
Yeah.
you never know. Like, what could have happened after that? Would he have gotten like the movies right after, like Nighthawk and a bunch of the movies
Right.
that the Rambo? Would that have ever happened if it wasn't for Rocky? I don't know, but man,
Yeah.
his story's pretty cool.
It's a really good documentary. It's a really,
I
really
gotta
good
watch
one.
it.
That's what I've been watching recently because I just can't watch, like, the only, like, kind of new shows that I could, like, handle were, like, Yellowstone. I love Yellowstone. I'm
Oh,
actually
cool, nice,
rewatching that now. But, like, Game of Thrones and then, like, Peaky Blinders. I
nice.
have, like, 5 shows on deck that I just constantly, like, I finish one and I go to the next one and I go to the next one because I tried watching new shows and I just can't. Like, even new movies, I feel like it's just like, man, it's just gotten so weird out there.
Yeah.
It's gotten so weird out there, like, politically correct stuff, and, just all this crazy shit, like people getting, like, put in movies just because 'cause they're famous off of, like,
Oh, I
Instagram, or
know.
dating
Yeah.
somebody, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I go back to my old shows because, yeah, it's like, I don't know.
And there's a lot of shows and movies that I never saw. So it's great when you have like apps like Tubi and Pluto that are free because
Yeah.
they get like the free rights to all these like random 80s movies I've never seen. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool actually.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. I mean, that's a whole, I mean, it's just changed so much. I remember I auditioned for Vin Diesel. What's Vin Diesel's movie? Not Pitch Black, but the next, like, series, Chronicles of
Oh,
Riddick.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I auditioned for Chronicles of Riddick when I was in New York. Actually, I was filming a movie called Rick, with Bill Pullman.
Oh,
And
sweet.
yeah, and I auditioned for the Chronicles of Riddick, and it was like a huge deal because Pitch Black did so well, and it was like, "Oh my god, Vin Diesel, he's the next star," and blah 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 and all this stuff. And I auditioned, and I think I was too young at the time. I was really, like, young. I think that was, like, a big factor. But then he, like, that series, like, it never even went to a series because it was like, I think if you signed the deal, it was like a 4 movie part thing.
Wow.
But then what was his next one? It was Riddick. It was just called Riddick. And
Yeah,
at this
yeah,
time, yeah, and at this time I was, like, older. I was, like,
yeah.
around, like, I don't know, I want to say, like, 22, 23, maybe 24. And, I was at this point, I'm like, okay, Laura Croft came out with Angelina Jolie. I want to be a fucking action star. I need to get into these action movies. And I auditioned, and it was great and it went great. I got great feedback, but they were like, you know what? Like Vin Diesel's really big on um social media right now. And I
Oh my
didn't even
god.
know, yeah, I didn't even
Yeah.
know what it was at the time. I was like, what? And they were like Twitter and da da da. I don't think Instagram even came out yet. It was like Twitter was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't understand. They were like, yeah, we're just, we're gonna go with somebody that has like a big following. And it was Katie Sackhoff.
Oh, I've heard that
Katie,
name. Yeah.
yeah, she comes from like some sci-fi show that is huge. But she had this Twitter and she had like hundreds of thousands of followers. So I was like, are you serious? So I literally went into the
Yeah.
parking lot after that audition and I downloaded this Twitter and I was like, what the fuck do you do? Like, what is
What
this?
is
What
this?
the fuck is this? It was like so stupid to me. I was like, you just write shit and put it out there and
Yeah.
people like it. And I had maybe, I don't know, 50 followers or something. And I was like, okay, I can't do this like social media thing. Like I don't know how to do it. And then I did a movie called Baytown Outlaws. And oh my goodness, I can't remember her name now. Oh, Bria, Brienne, something like that. She did something and she was huge on social media. So we were in like this taxi one day going out or whatever during filming, and I was like, "Dude, can you help me with this like Twitter? I don't understand." And she was like, "Oh, I got you, girl." And she like tweeted out something on her page, and then all of a sudden it was just like my phone was like, ding, 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 ding. And I was like, "Oh my god,
Wow.
I got
There's
these
a lot of people
followers!"
in that movie. What was the name? Who was it? It wasn't Eva Longoria, right?
No, 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 no. Bree, something with a B. Brian. Oh, I'm so bad
Oh
with
wow,
fucking
that's
names,
pretty. Well,
dude.
that's pretty nice of her.
Yeah, no, she was so sweet. She was like, "Oh, I got you," and she just like fucking like tweeted it out, and I was like, that was it. I got like thousands of followers, and it was so cool. I was like, "All right, I'm doing this." I still didn't know what the hell I was saying, but I was like, "I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
this." Um, yeah. So after that, God, Town Outlaws, and then after that, I did what the hell did I do? That was a big thing. Oh, the more recent. It was, or one of the more recent, like 7 years ago. Once Upon a Time, the
Oh
show for
yeah.
Disney. Yeah.
Very cool show. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, and that's another show that I cannot tell you that I've watched one episode. I definitely watched my episodes, but
Yeah.
I wasn't like, my sister was obsessed. She was like, "What? You're gonna be on Once Upon a Time?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Oh my God, it's the greatest show. I watched every episode." I was like, "All right." Like, just watch mine too.
Yeah, yeah. Watch it twice.
um
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after they actually, when I went into audition for that, the producers were like, they sat me down and they were like, "All right, you got the part and blah blah blah. So now we're gonna tell you who you're gonna play," and it was Maleficent's daughter.
Nice.
And this is like the backstory and blah blah blah. And I was like, "This is so cool! Like Maleficent is like, that's so badass." And they were like, "But we're warning you, like our fans are insane. So they might hate you, they might love you. It all depends. We're just warning you." And then I was like, what are they talking about? And even just like during filming, we were filming in Vancouver, they would have like this one guy that was in charge of like where the fans meet up, like during filming.
Oh
So
my god.
he would find out where we were working and like send out like this telegram to his fucking minions, and they would all show up, and it was so crazy. Like I just couldn't believe it, like taking pictures, and then to end up like somewhere on the internet and blah blah blah. But that was really insane. And then that after that, like I had like the most followers, and I'm trying to keep up with them now. I'm trying to get back into like, because I like Instagram. Instagram's not bad.
Yeah.
It's like the one platform where I'm like, all right, it makes sense. You could be like creative and like put pictures that you want. You can go back to the past and do like throwback stuff. You can post family if you want, personal. It's like, but there's something to look at. You know what I mean? Twitter
Yeah.
and or X, whatever it's called now, and fucking Threads. It's like, it's so
I know.
stupid to me. I just don't get it. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this shit? Like, it's
But you're right. That's the thing now. Like they look for who has the most followers, and they'll put them maybe even on the poster of an independent
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
And then it's like you watch the movie, they're barely in it, or that's what they do with people like from the 80s and 90s. But some people do it right. Like I interviewed Eric Roberts, and they use him great in movies. I watched some movies he's in, and
yeah,
one he was only in it for 10 minutes, but it was like Oh my god, they used it perfectly. It was like 5 minutes in the beginning, 5 minutes in the end, and then
Yeah,
basically he was pulling the strings for this whole thing throughout the movie, and you're like, wow, this is cool. There's like a strategy to it. One thing I
yeah,
wanted to
yeah, yeah.
ask you, because you mentioned horror before, like
Yep.
when you're in it, because obviously with the drama and horror, there's like a lot of emotions that are going on. So
Oh
like
yeah.
in those horror roles, is that like traumatizing? Like in Vacancy too, like the end of the movie, which we're going to talk to Eric, the director, I think soon too,
Oh,
which is pretty
sweet.
cool. And
Eric
he said how
Ross.
great. Yeah, he said it was. He said you were great when we reached out to him, and it was pretty cool. The end scene, like that's got to be like a little traumatic, and then the guy getting lit on fire. Now, was that something? Was that you that lit to do that scene, or no?
N Oh my god, I don't even remember what you're talking about, to be honest. I remember that he gets on fire, but how did it happen again?
With a lighter. It was like almost like a grill lighter. You threw
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
paint
yeah.
thinner on him, but you couldn't see if it was you or not. I know most of the time they'll be like, "All right, we don't want to mess around with the star of the movie just in case they get burnt in
Yeah.
this thing." But it was a pretty wild burn. But the reason I asked is because I've interviewed people that get killed in horror movies, but not ones that are like traumatized for that long throughout the movie. So I was
No,
just wondering like how hard it is to do that, like emotionally.
no. Yeah, I remember the guy now. Because I remember like they had this like new technology or whatever, this new like it was like a clear putty that he could put on. And it was like, it's because they I think he had some kind of a suit, but then I don't even remember. But yeah, it was like a big deal. No, I don't ever get like traumatized, or like how people like some people are like, oh, it was so hard for me to leave that character, or
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean. I'm such a like I'm so detached, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
in the moment, in the scene, I can be like totally in it. But no, I mean, the only movie I have to say, I think it was like Blue Car and Anna Nicole,
Oh, I bet
where
you ain't a call. Yeah.
oh yeah, I mean, because that was Anna Nicole was trippy, because it was like I'm not like a girly girl. Like I can get done up and I can fucking act the part. But in my real life, like the people that know me, I'm like, I mean, I'm not. I'm just like a total tomboy. I wasn't when I was younger, but I'm a total tomboy. So I've never worn fake eyelashes. Um, if I bought high heels, it was usually like a boot, because wearing normal high heels is like dangerous for me.
Yeah.
Um, like hair extent, like all of this shit that we did for the movie, and that's why I turned the movie down like I think 2 or 3 times,
Really?
because
So what was that
oh yeah,
audition process like? Was it like a long, because when you're playing someone, it's like, all right, we have to find somebody that resembles that person. It's not like really like a usual open casting call, right?
yeah, no, so it was they auditioned a lot of people for it, and then I never I never auditioned. So what happened was, um I did a movie called The Craigslist Killer.
I saw that on there. I was gonna ask if that was the connection to
Yeah, so I
that.
did that with and it was Sony and Lifetime. And Judith Verneau, her name was the producer on The Craigslist Killer, and she contacted my manager and was like, "There's this part. It's Anna Nicole. It's for Lifetime." And Lifetime at the time was, or, I mean, I don't know if it still is. I don't really think it is, but at the time, it was like not the best idea to do as an actor, because you're like, it's mostly cheesy stuff and whatever. So immediately in my mind, I'm like, Lifetime, Anna Nicole, like what? Like, why would I do what? Who even thought of me for this? Because I've never perceived myself as like Anna Nicole, you know what I mean? Like this beautiful, blonde, gorgeous, whatever. Like, I've just never thought about myself like that. And so I was just totally taken aback, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, before I even knew of anything, I was like, no. And then a couple days later, they came back and they were like, like Judith that you worked with, like really, really thinks that you'd be perfect. Like you have to just at least like talk to them. They're not going to be cheesy with it. They're going to make the movie like super real. They hired this director. What's her name? Mary Heron. and she did American Psycho, right? American Psycho.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, she directed American Psycho. She directed The Life of Betty Page, I believe it's called. Like, so she's a super strange, like, like not your typical like director that they're gonna hire for a lifetime movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, this is sounding a little bit better. I was like, that sounds cool. And they were like, yeah, just meet with them and see and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh my God. So they were like, how about we just like do, like a test run? Like, let's see. So they brought me in. I had brown hair at the time because I always change my hair color because I'm crazy like that. But they brought me in and I had brown hair, but I like did it up and I put on like, makeup and I pushed my small boobies as far as they could go up. And I went in and I had an acting coach at the time that I would like use for like, really important things to me or whatever. And so she worked with me and she was just like trying to get me out because I was just, like just playing someone so, like sexual and like it was just so uncomfortable for me. So she was just, come on, you can do it, you can do it. And so I think we put myself I went in, I did like 3 scenes or something like that, and they were like, "Okay, like, now the next step is to meet with Mary, like, just meet with her." So I went in and I met with her, um, also, like, done up and everything, but in the back of, like, all of this going on, I think I was already kind of hired. It was just kind of like this process because
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing, it was like I never seen another you know what I mean? It was just like
Yeah.
so, I ended up getting it and I was so shocked. I was so shocked. Because I was just like, I was like, man, first of all, what am I getting myself into? Because I was terrified. I was petrified. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do this. I was so, and then I was just, as time went on, I was like, Agnes, like, remember, like, when you're doing a movie, it's so slow doing a movie. Like, you're just sitting around for like 75, 80% of the day, just waiting for
Yeah, yeah.
lighting or to turn around or, lunch or whatever. So I was like, you can do this. Like you take it one take at a time, you can do this, you can do this. And then that was it. And then I they were trying to figure out how to, because so yeah, I was super flat chested. Like I've had 2 babies and my boobies have kind of stayed around, which is nice. But I was like really flat chested when I got Anna Nicole. So the next step was like, how are we going to make her boobs big? Because obviously Anna's boobs were a huge part of her career.
Yeah.
Um,
You tr
it was a huge thing in her career. So yeah, we went in and they were like, oh, let's try like push-up bras and let's try this and this. And then we actually used oh, it's such a shame I can't think of his name right now, but the guy who did the prosthetics did like the first prosthetic boobs and it was for like I want to say it was like for Tootsie for Dustin Hoffman or something.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something cool like that. And I was like, all right, all right. So they did like a mold of, like my chest and they had like these, it was like 2 separate boobs that went on. And it was so trippy. I was like, this is crazy. But I remember the first day that because we did camera testing and all that stuff, because obviously there was like we went through her whole life, like, 3 or 4 decades of just like when she was little to like, Playboy and then this and this. So it was really wild, but the first day that we did the camera testing and I had like the fake boobs on and like the hair extensions and the eyelashes and oh my goodness, it's like it was crazy, but I was like, oh my goodness, I think I could do this. Like I felt it like coming out of me. I was like, all right, like because I was so opposite of that. So it was super trippy to like actually like step into her shoes and knowing that she was like somebody like real, like I was playing a person that actually existed.
Yeah, and looking in the
Yeah.
mirror probably for the first time, and you're like, "Oh my god, I look
Yeah, and
totally
it was
different. This is something that I never imagined myself being."
yeah, no, Todd McIntosh and David, they did my hair and makeup. No, sorry, my makeup. Todd is like crazy. If you look them up, they've done like a bunch of stuff together. They're just
Oh, cool.
amazing. And yeah, we would just like sit in the chair and they would just do me up and it was actually really cool. I actually took a lot away from the Anna Nicole movie. Like I became a little bit more feminine afterwards and like did my hair a little bit more and put a little bit more makeup on and all that kind of stuff because I learned so much from those people and just working on that movie. But it was really crazy. Like it was challenging, but then also like super rewarding. Like Adam Goldberg was like hilarious, like
He's great, yeah.
one of the best co-stars to have, man. He fucking had me laughing, crying, laughing every single day. Like just he's so hilarious. And he brought such a cool like energy to that role. He was great. And then Carrie Elwes, who I've
Yeah.
worked with, I think twice before that. I want to say once before that for sure, but I think twice. And he actually surprised me. I was like sitting in the makeup trailer one day, and he was supposed to be that character was supposed to be working, and they like kept who it was from me, and I wasn't really like paying that much attention, but he like came into the trailer, the makeup trailer, and he was like, "Hey," and I was just like, "No way, Carrie!" Like such a sweetheart, like such a good guy. Um, and we had a blast. He worked a couple days, I think it was like a couple days or a week or something like that, but he was so cool, and it's just such a cool cast. Like it was Virginia Madsen was like, hella
Yeah.
cool. Everybody was so it was such a like great Martin Landau. I mean, that was like trippy too, like working with him, and it was the whole thing was just totally crazy. But I loved how it came out. Me and the director did not see eye to eye. Um, we respected each other, but I feel like she comes from a different world of acting. Like I'm not big on like rehearsals, like because I just like to get into it, or like, if I do a rehearsal, it's just the dialogue. I hate like getting into character like in rehearsal. I'm like, save that for the
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
And she's the total opposite. She like wants to see the fucking scene like, 110% like in rehearsals.
Uh,
And so it would be like, and playing Anna especially it took so much energy out of me because it was constantly like, worrying about your looks and and it was just like
yeah.
to do that in rehearsals as well as like when I do the take, I was like, dude, I can't do that for you. And her and I did not see eye to eye with that. But yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I'm so like proud of the movie, and I think it turned out pretty awesome.
No, that's
Yeah.
cool. What kind of research you did do? Because I was trying to think of it like what I think of what's interesting about her, because she passed away in 2007, but she
Yeah.
was like the early like reality, because she had the show on E, I think, or right.
Yes.
So that was like
Yes.
good probably to go back to. But did you talk to people that knew her or anything like that, like when researching the role?
No, no, I don't even remember if they tried to like reach out to anybody. All I know is that I got like this box sent to my apartment in LA of just like binders and pictures and magazines, like all this stuff on Anna. And um it was crazy. It was really crazy going through her life because, you know, when I was younger, you know, like even in my teens, I always looked at chicks like that and like, ew, like that's so gross, like I hate that like over sexy thing, and that's like all you have, and you're just beautiful and whatever. And then just actually like when you grow up and realize like that these people were like going through so much, and just the hardships and the relationships. And Hollywood is really like the limelight, I would say, is really tricky. Like if you don't have like a strong sense of self, and if you don't have like a concrete idea of who you are as a person, like it can fucking destroy you. And I feel like there's a lot of actors that even nowadays, like everybody's passing away, and I'm just like, what the fuck, like
Yeah.
overdoses or mysterious deaths and all this stuff. And it's just, I'm so happy to be here in Hawaii, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I think I came at a perfect time in my life, and just to raise my kids and actually have like some sense of like normal, life. Because, as I was like reading all this stuff about Anna, I was like, man, I almost felt like defensive for her. I was like, man, why did she talk to this asshole? Like, why was this person in her life? Why didn't she get rid of him? Like, why did she do this? And, it's always like searching for the next thing and wanting to be popular, wanting to be wanted. And growing up, she had like, a horrible kind of childhood. And, like her mom is, wasn't the best. And so I related a lot to that. And when you don't know all about a person, you just see her in the limelight and doing all this crazy shit. It's like so easy. Like the first question that people would ask me after I did Anna Nicole was like, "Oh, so what do you think? Did she like marry him for the money? Like, I mean, da da da, like all this stuff." And I'm just like, like even if she did, like
Yeah.
that's her fucking life. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
She's been through so much. Like, fuck it. Like, if she, if people always look at the girl when it comes to that, they're never like, oh, he just married her because she's this
I
beautiful.
know, right? Yeah,
Yeah, it's
there's
always
that
like the
double standard all the
girl.
time. I know.
Yeah,
I've
it's
said this so
so.
many times. Like, if a guy goes on a vacation and he gets back and he's like, "Guys, I hooked up with 5 girls," everybody's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah." But if a girl goes on vacation and it's like, "Oh, I hooked up with 5 guys," it's like, "Oh, you're." Ugh.
yeah,
And it's like
I
such
know.
a weird. It's like this weird thing in society, and it's sad that we're still in like we're 2023 and like there's still like these weird dubbers. Like my daughter's in preschool and she comes home and I think it's just something that's so ingrained in everyone. And she's like,
Yeah.
well, only boys can be doctors and stuff like that. I'm like, no, that's what are we talking about?
Yeah, no, but that's,
Yeah.
I think it's like I think it's normal when you're like growing up and it's, I mean,
Yeah.
I think there is a big difference between girls and guys, but it's like, you know, like cuz my daughter's super and I was super like girly and I wanted frou dresses when I was younger and stuff. And my daughter is
Yeah.
super, she's 4 too, she's in preschool
Oh,
too.
okay.
And she's like the girliest of girls. Like, oh my God. It's, she has to put a dress on and mom, can you do my hair? And I'm just like, oh my goodness, because I'm not like that. I'm like, and she
Yeah.
doesn't watch like any, you know what I mean? But it's the
Yeah.
girliness. But no, but with Anna, it was like she just, I just felt so after like doing this research on her and like, kind of talking to Mary about it and everybody, I was like, man, like what a life, what a life. Like it's hard and it goes back to like, I did a movie called Blood and Chocolate. um I was 20. I think I turned 21 while we were shooting or just before we were shooting. No, I think it was while I was shooting. But that was like my first lead role in a big movie, so it was for, I believe, is MGM and
Oh, wow.
Castle Rock.
Nice.
And it was like a huge thing. And I was the it girl at the time. That's what they called me, the it girl, the new it girl, which is just ridiculous because I'm look back now and it's like, it's just so crazy. But anyway, when I was doing that movie, we started shooting and I think it was like a week or a week and a half into filming. The director came to my trailer and she like walks in and she was like, Agnes, we need like to discuss something. And I was like, okay. And the producer came in, his name is Hawk. And let me just tell
Nice.
you, yeah, yeah, Hawk. My dad ended up calling him Hawk the Cock because he was just, yeah. Anyway, no, but they came in, they were like, we've seen the, LA has seen the because we shot in Romania. We've seen the, the dailies and, we're gonna need you to lose some weight. And I was like,
Oh,
what? I was like, I was 20 at the time. I mean, I wasn't like in sick shape, but I was like in pretty decent shape. And I just remember being like totally caught off guard. I was like, are you like, and also feeling just like such shame, like, oh my God, I'm fat.
yeah.
Oh. And I was like, well, what are we going to do? Like, how long do I have? And they're like a week, 5 days to a week. I'm like, to do what? And they were like, lose weight. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how? Like, and how much weight? And they were like, I think it was like 15, 20 pounds or something like that. And I'm like, in a week?
Jesus.
Like, what do you want me to do? Start chopping off like pieces of my body?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was so wild. But I remember, and I was heated and I was so upset. But I stuck up for myself and I was very like, not defiant. I like ended up losing weight, but not, as crazy as they made it
Yeah,
out
yeah,
to
yeah.
be like that I have. But and I did it, because it's, it's my job and I understand. But in that moment when I found that out, like that first day, I was so hurt, like when you like are working and you get this huge job and this is your chance and you're like in it and doing it and you think you're doing well, and then to be hit with something like that, especially as a female, I feel like in this business is like
Oh, yeah.
so like it could be so soul crushing. And yeah, and I just remember like I always go back to that because I've like manage to stay somewhat sane, not on drugs and like not going fucking out of my mind crazy, like, like Anna, and but those are like the things that happen that a lot of people don't know about or they don't think about, like those little situations that like really can hurt somebody if you're not, like I said, like concrete in who you are. I was
Yeah.
always My mom always like raised me in a sense that like if I didn't get an audition, she'd be like, fuck them, you're gonna get something better, that's their loss. So I,
Yeah.
I never was like the type of person to like really like be upset if I didn't get something. Like I'd be like upset about it if I really wanted it, but I wouldn't dwell on it or it wouldn't hurt me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel
Cool
like a lot of,
poster. I hope you have that poster somewhere. That's a rad poster. The blood and
blood and chocolate.
chocolate. It's
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
have. Yeah, I think I have the big version of that, and then I have some like
That's
smaller
sweet.
ones. But yeah, that was like super. That was super badass
No, that is
job.
really cool. But when it honestly like I helped this actor, this guy Larry Hankin, big time character actor. He's in like a million things, but he told me he would like when he was starting acting, and he's like, I would know these girls that were actresses that are in their 30s and 35, and I don't know where they'd be like, okay, you're the TV mom now, and then once they played TV mom once in the 70s and 80s, they were gone forever, and that was his fear. He had when I helped him write his book, he has a whole chapter that's about like fear of becoming a TV dad. So then he started playing homeless because he said he'd rather be a homeless guy, than a dad because homeless guys you could. But it was like so ridiculous. But that's what Hollywood is.
Yeah,
You watch a movie nowadays, like okay, like I get like maybe Tom Cruise, but the girl that's into Tom Cruise is like 30 years younger. That's the way
yeah.
Hollywood's always been.
Well, and that's the thing, like, because I even the new what is it called, Top Gun Maverick or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it was a great movie. I fucking love the movie. I really like it. But it was so funny that it's Jennifer Connelly, and it actually looked
I
up
know.
the actress that played in the original, and I mean, she's not
Yeah,
even
I should know her name. I
recognizable.
love her. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's just like, and that's how it is, and it's there's it's such a weird business. Like there's so many ups and there's so many downs and there's such like weird stuff that goes on, and especially now, like it's become so much politics in it, and it's just race and politics. And I that's another big reason I came back to Hawaii after I had my son, is because
yeah.
it like that like the BLM and the race thing like really got big in Hollywood right around the time my son was like 6 months to 1 years old. And I was auditioning for things and they were like, great. I mean, because, I've been doing it since I was 11. I'm 38. And before my
Yeah.
son, I was, 29, 30. And I've been doing it for so long. And so casting directors know me, um, agents know me. And they would be, we love her. We love Agnes. Like she's great. But, we have a quota. We got to get, a Spanish person, a black person, a Canadian, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what happened to just, if you're good at the part and it's what they want, you get it. You know what I mean? It's so strange nowadays where it's like
Yeah, I
they need,
know.
so it's
Yeah,
just
no, it's one of
sad.
those things
It's,
like they almost you know what it is? It is definitely sad that it's like they're forcing like, hey, you should do this. But I think what ruined it was like the early Hollywood days when it'd be like, we're not gonna have any of those other people in these movies. It's so funny when you watch older movies and it's like, even in 80s movies, I've interviewed like African American actors, and they're like, I had to like almost stop acting for a little bit because they were only letting me play like the thug or gang member.
y-
And he's like, dude, I am like Shakespeare trained, but they wouldn't, there was no roles for that.
yeah.
It's like this weird like balance, and it just thinks that we're living in what was caused by maybe the early days.
Yeah. Well, it's all like, it's all, like, what is it called? Like it's polarization. It's like,
Yeah.
we don't have enough like black people or like colored people in the industry, or like Indians or whatever, like race, and then it comes, it gets into like backgrounds of these people, and then it turns into something else and something else, and so now we're gonna boycott Oscars, and no one go, and then it's like, you know what I mean. But back in the day it was the opposite, and it's so,
Yeah, it's hard
it
to,
doesn't
yeah.
belong. It's like all of that shit needs to get out of Hollywood. Like Hollywood is like, leave Hollywood to like entertainment and like, movie stars and entertainment and fun and like creating, not this world that like doesn't. you know what I mean? It doesn't have anything to do with it. And it's
Yeah.
gotten so like cluttered with that. So I don't know. I'm just now, like, I feel like in the past like year, I've been like, all right, this is, still what I love to do. And I really want to like try to get back to it because, having a kid, obviously, like, unless you're, Julia Roberts, it's like you're
Yeah.
going to be out for some time.
Mhm.
And and I wanted to, um I wanted to be present with my kids. I didn't like I've never had like a nanny. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't think the longest I've been away from my daughter is like cuz she was born like right before COVID.
No,
Um
yeah, yeah. Same with so
so
our kids are like the same, yeah.
yeah, so it's like I haven't been away from her for like, I think I just went to Spain to do a small project not too long
Oh,
ago.
cool.
And I was there for like 10 days and that's like the longest I've been away from her.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be a mom like so bad, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like I don't regret like, doing that. And especially I wanted to be like a young mom. I didn't There was no chance in hell. I mean, I'm 38 now. Like I don't know how these fucking chicks do it when they're like
Uh,
45 and having a kid. Like Naomi Campbell just had a baby. I'm like,
that's
"What?"
insane.
Yeah, I just can't. I'm like, oh my God, I can barely like when I get up, I have to like stretch, I'm starting to like crack
I
here and
know,
there.
I know, I know.
I'm like, what?
No,
Can
at
you
drop
imagine
off,
having
there's
like
some
a
moms and dads that I'm like, I don't know if you're the grandpa or the grandma, or maybe you are the mom and dad because people have
yeah,
kids at all ages. But no, I hear you. Like, it's hard to, you always want, like, I purposely got a job working from home because I always want to be around them.
yeah.
So no, we went to Nashville last month and that was like the longest we were away from our kids, like 4 days at the most. But no, I feel you. No, it's hard, and it's like one of those things. It's like, oh, but I'm gonna have to be on set, But
Yeah.
it's cool that you have all those other experiences to like go back to. But like, are these things on IMDb? Because IMDb is never right, but like Reaper's Night or like The Roots, are they even real projects that you're really attached to? Or did somebody just like put you on them at all?
So, The Roots is the project I did in Spain.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so that is like already done. It's a smaller part, but it's a really cool film, and um it's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be really cool. It's like a thriller drama, a little comedy in there. It's really cool.
Cool.
And then yeah, but I don't think I because the director is just had a kid or is gonna have a kid soon. So I don't think he's also the editor. I don't think he's gonna be quick to leave
Yeah,
his
yeah,
newborn baby anytime soon. So that's gonna be
yeah,
like
yeah.
sometime like later next year, I think. But um Reaper's Night it's still like up in the air. Yeah. It happened like um I got involved with it like a while ago now. It was like a year ago and it was supposed to happen back then and then the strike happened. So it was like put on hold. Um but definitely, might happen. I want to say.
There's a lot of people attached. Like usually, a lot of times, there's maybe like a couple people, but it's like Christy Swanson,
Yeah.
Dante Basco, Zach
Yeah.
Galligan, Kendra
Yeah.
Wilkinson has a role as cocktail waitress, which
Yeah. Yeah, so
maybe, but
yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely on there and we're definitely in talks. I think that it's like I haven't actually like talked to anybody from production in a while because the strike happened and it was kind of like everything was put on hold. So we have to get back into it. But yeah, it's a cool movie. It's definitely horror. And it's like it's fun. It's like a fun
cool.
horror movie. Yeah. So I I read the script a long time ago. I'm pretty sure there's been like a lot of changes and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been so between COVID and then the strike, it's just been like, oh my goodness, can we please just get back to some sort of normalcy?
yeah,
Um,
no,
so yeah, but finally I just talked to my manager the other day and he was like, it's looking good. It's looking positive. So yeah,
sweet.
hopefully, other stuff is going to come up and I think the wheels are just starting to like turn now with auditions and stuff like that, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the
That's
future
cool.
holds.
No, this has been a lot of fun. So what I always like to ask people at the end, because I think it's always because when you're in the moment, like especially when you're a kid, you're acting and on all these movies. Did you ever keep any mementos from set, like scripts, wardrobe? Like you said, you mentioned the chair you had in Glass House. Did you keep anything?
Yeah, so I kept a lot of chair backs. So not the
Oh,
actual
cool.
chairs, but yeah, because they never gave you the chairs. They just gave you the seat back that has like your name or the movie's name.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I have like Venom, I have Blood and Chocolate, Vacancy, I think I have like 4 or 5. So I kept 4 or 5 of those.
that's cool.
Um clothes and and boots and stuff because I'm not like a fashionable person. So when I would like work on these projects, like I'd be
Yeah.
like, man, these fucking boots are cool. I'm like, I'm not like a shopper, like anything like that. So I would always be like, can I buy these? And they'd be like, half the time they give it to you, and then the other half, like you have to pay for it. But clothes, chair backs, I got for Blood and Chocolate, I got it's a script holder. It's like a leather script holder. I still have that. I was actually thinking about giving it to um somebody recently, and then I was like, I can't, I don't want to like let go of this because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember it being such a big deal because it says like Blood and Chocolate, and I think it says my name, and then in the inside it's like all like nice, and there's like a little like bookmarker thing. So I have that. Um I also got a really cool like parting gift from for Blood and Chocolate. Like I got this
Oh, cool.
nice little like watch that, the producer gave me. Um but yeah, I don't know. I think that's it. I have like a whole box. I mean, I have so much. I did one convention a couple years ago. It was like a horror fest convention. I forget what it's called. It's for charity. It was really cool.
Oh,
Um
cool.
and I got to like I have all these like pictures from movies, and then just like Anna Nicole pictures that we did as Anna Nicole. um yeah, I have a bunch of Anna Nicole DVDs.
Nice.
Yeah, still all wrapped up. um yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
so
that's
hard. I
it.
always ask people, and sometimes people are like, I didn't really think of it at the time, because you're like, it's like a little summer vacation or like, because all people, if you're filming on a location, you're like stuck with people, you get to meet people, and like, that's who like, that's your family for that long. But I asked
Yeah.
this guy, Stuart Penk, and I go, do you ever keep anything? He goes, I always keep the scripts. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm like, what do you do with them? And he looked over to the left and he goes, if I open that closet right now, they might fall down. He goes, I don't know why I kept them. And then other people do some cool things. Like this one guy was really awesome. He would like at the end, he was a camera operator. He would ask people to sign one of the slates, which was like so smart to
Oh,
think to
badass.
do. So it's like
Yeah.
one of those things like, hey, maybe if I think about it. But
You know
no, it's
what?
pretty
I
neat that
think
you kept something.
Yeah, no, I definitely like a couple of the chairs. I think it's because I like worked with somebody and I seen them do it, and then
Oh yeah.
yeah, I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. But I just never. It's like you said, we become a little family, and especially like back in the day when like Blood and Chocolate took us like 4 months. Like there was 1 month of like wolf camp, and then 3 months of shooting, and then
Yeah.
everything was like at least a month that you're with these people, pretty much 24 hours a day, and it was that's the thing that I love about it. It's like the
Yeah.
experience, the fun, and then like going out and drinking afterwards, and like just all that kind of stuff is like so fun to me because it like I think it comes from just not having like sleepovers and like hanging out when you're younger, and it was like, oh, okay, well, we're all together now, we're all friends, let's party, and have fun.
Yeah.
So, and I did a lot of like, I've done a lot of movies where it was like a, big cast of like younger people. So we would always, I mean, I just remember like, yeah, what was the Kill Theory? I did this movie called Kill Theory. It was called something else at the time. But that movie, like we shot in Louisiana, and it was we stayed at like a Motel 6 or something, not a Motel 6, just like low end fucking like motel, hotel, whatever. And across
Yeah.
the street, there was like one of those mega massive Walmarts that has like a McDonald's inside and shit.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And we would literally like take our per diem. We'd have like 50, $60, and we'd just like go to Walmart, and we got all this crap to like decorate our rooms and like Christmas lights. And we were like 22, 23 or something like that. And we were just like, Bacardi and Diet Cokes because there's no calories, guys.
Nice.
And it was
Yeah. Yeah.
so, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the kind of stuff that, I always take away, like those memories and those stories and, all that in the moment stuff is just the best. So I'm
No,
not
I
I'm
agree.
not really
Yeah.
like, I'm not a keepsake person, and I don't really like, I have a few things that have, especially with my kids, but with me, I just like, I've never really been like that. I don't have tchotchkes. I like declutter the house like every month. So I think, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But I have some stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
mainly
no, that's
memories.
neat. The
Yeah.
memories are good because you know, like you said, you didn't get just due to like being a, acting as a child and
Yeah.
moving around, so you didn't experience those things. But you know what? It doesn't matter when you experience, you got the opportunity to do that, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I'm very fortunate like to have the career that I have so far, and hopefully, I mean, we'll see where it goes from here. Yeah, I'm excited about the future. I think that it's, I know that something good is going to come along, and, I'm excited, and until then I'll do, little things here and there, but yeah, let's
Oh,
see.
that's cool. This has been a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And no, and I think you are funny. So you should do I think comedies on your horizons because that'd be good. 'Cause you've done
Yeah.
obviously the horror movies and you know to tap into those things, but hey,
Yeah.
whatever comes your way, I'm
Whatever
sure you'll
comes my
knock it
way.
out of the
I've
park.
always been like that, I mean, I put something in my head, like I would love to do action stuff just because I think it's so badass, and
Yeah.
I want to at one point in my life do one movie where I'm like, it's like Laura Croft, where I get to do like stunts, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I just think that that's so cool. Or even like, it's so funny. I think this is the point I was trying to get to earlier, but I never got there, was, like Vin Diesel and The Rock and
Yeah.
all these guys that, they do these movies where it's like, they're just typical joes, but they just, are just so badass, and they end up, killing 50 people and whatever, but they, start out in prison and somebody killed them, like, or their family or whatever. And I just never seen like a girl version of that, so I'm just so curious,
Oh,
like.
it's very rare. I don't know why. Like Peppermint was like one of the rare ones, like Vigilante with Jennifer Garner. She did one that it was like a
Yeah.
vigilante type of movie, but no, there's not enough of it. But that could be
No,
you.
and
You could
yeah, I'm putting my energy into like that area because I'm so curious as to, and I think nowadays with like, you know, pro women movement and all this stuff, I think that like it would be a lot more accepted, because I think back in the day it was like, no, action is for, for the dudes. Um but I think, I don't know, I think that that's something that I would be really into. But like I said, I've said this kind of stuff, and then I'll get a script and I'm like, it's completely different. So
yeah, yeah,
we'll see what happens. You never know what's going to come your way, but you can just put it out there that that's what I want coming my way.
yeah. No. Well, this has been awesome. Enjoy the Hawaii weather, and this will probably be out in like a month or two, and I'll shoot you a link. I'll edit it and make it sound amazing. And thanks so
Sweet.
much for taking the time, Agnes. I
Yeah,
appreciate
no,
it.
thanks for reaching out. And this was really fun. I appreciate you.
Cool.
And yeah,
No, it's cool. When I talk to people, like it's so funny. Like when I did this in the beginning, obviously, like I've always done sales and I've always done like not stand up comedy, but like improv and stuff. And I always put myself out there. But
yeah,
it's so funny. Like I interviewed Eric Roberts, which I was like shitting my pants while I was talking to him because I've only done this a year. It was like during COVID when a lot of people were home. And he said,
yeah,
"Yeah, actually, like I interviewed. Do you know remember Robert Hayes from Airplane? He was the main guy in Airplane. Like,
yeah, of
so
course.
I interviewed him, and then I don't know even know. It's so funny. Radio was so regional back then, but like everybody knows Howard Stern. But do you remember Opie and Anthony?
No.
They were like the opposites of Opie and Howard in the New York area. But anyway, this
Yeah,
guy reaches out to me and he goes, "Oh, hey, I'm the manager for Opie and Anthony. Anthony's dad's best man at his wedding was Robert Hayes, and we want to connect. Blah 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 blah. Well, we'll let you talk to Eric Roberts." I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." But when I was done talking to Eric Roberts, this guy that's probably done a million interviews on like TV shows with like big anchors, I'm sure, and stuff like that.
yeah,
He's like, "You know what, Doug? That was a great trip down memory lane." And then like, it's so funny. Like a lot of people like reach out to you and be like, "Oh, can we just talk about blank?"
yeah,
Or can
yeah,
we talk
yeah,
about blank? Especially people that are like Star Wars. I'm sure like for Bold and Beautiful, I'm sure people would
yeah.
do that. But I talked to this guy who was on in Star Trek. See, I don't even know my Star Wars and Star Trek, which is bad. But he was on Star Trek. He was on Voyager the whole run of it, and he
Yeah,
was like, "Can we not?" I really don't like to talk about that stuff. And he like appreciate that was just through email. And then we did the
Yeah.
interview. I like barely talked about it, and
Yeah.
he like was so appreciative of that because he's probably like that's all people ever asked about. But and that it's
No,
cool.
I
So
yeah, no, I even like, I have Cameo, the app Cameo
okay,
where you
yeah,
can
yeah,
like
yeah,
make videos and stuff. And it's so funny because, I get such different like different things, and people, it's not like I don't ever do shout outs because I know it's like big for shout outs, like, oh, I'll tell your
yeah.
boyfriend that he sucks or whatever. But it's like weird shit. So
I know
sometimes
it's
I'll get
very
like
weird. Yeah,
I'll get some stuff and it's like, I want you to pretend like you're at this, and I'm just like, okay, no. But most, like, I would say like 90% of the people, it's like always a different question about a different project. Like I've never
cool.
done like more than two things on the same project. So that is cool. You know what I mean? I love that.
Yeah,
I have fans of like all types and kinds, and you know what I mean? It's like I'll get people that are like obsessed with like 24 and like, like those kind of shows. And then it's like Once Upon a Time is like a whole different world. And yeah, I mean it was a really nice trip down memory lane, and I needed it because honestly, like I haven't, been like talking about like the industry and like things that I've worked on in
yeah,
so long that I just like I'll be like, I don't even know what I've done. You know what I mean? It's especially after you have kids, it's like it just all goes out the window. It's like kids are just
yeah.
like there and it's like you're gone. You know what I mean? So I'm in the
Yeah, and for the
process right
most part,
now.
you don't even talk about that stuff. Like, even when you're on set, it's not like, it's like, oh, Agnes, how was it working at so and so? It's like, it's actor, actor. So it's very rare that people talk about their job, Like,
Yeah.
my wife
No, it's
complains about some of the kids she has in middle school, like maybe like a couple times a week, but most of the time it's like we're just being with each other.
yeah.
So, no, it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's definitely I'm working on like coming back and finding, I feel like as a mom, you just kind of, I mean, as not everybody, but I've been like super involved mom. Like I just,
Yeah, yeah.
I live for my kids the past couple years, and it's like I'm not going away from that, but I'm also trying to like get back to me a little bit. So
Totally.
it was cool when you reached out. I was like, oh, this would be so much fun to actually go into like
Nice.
mom's world a little bit and have a
Yeah.
little fun. You know what I mean? So
I think
it was a
COVID
good
was
little
like
escape.
COVID was a great thing because
Yeah.
our kids, I think, are the same. I guess my son's 1.5, and my daughter Emerson's to be 5 on Christmas. So like,
Oh
it
my
was
God, one and a
like, it,
half.
yeah. So it was like the
Wow.
greatest thing ever. Like for me, obviously,
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah.
died and stuff, but like, I got to spend so much time with my daughter and see her grow up, and like, I work from home, so I see my son, but in the same. But I get what you're talking about, like identity. Like it's really, yeah, I don't know. And it's not like my mom's are here all the time babysitting, and I know you're in Hawaii, so it's like it's one of those things that's like so it's weird. Like I don't know how
It's so
people did it in
yeah,
the 80s.
it's so weird to like, to uh like separate, okay, I'm a mom,
Yeah,
but I'm also an actress, but I'm also, like a brother and sister. And it's just like there's so much going on
yeah,
in our lives. And I just feel like, especially nowadays, it's like everything is like so like boom, boom, boom. It's like fast, like,
yeah,
yeah, let's connect on phone and let's do this and let's do this. It's like it's so like, you know what I mean? And you just don't
yeah,
like
yeah,
stop and just like decompress a little bit. So that's one good thing about Hawaii is I get to like just go and run on the road over here. We're like two houses
yeah.
from the beach, and it's like
Nice.
we live on the west side, so it's not like the nicest side. It's actually known as like kind of the ghetto in Kauai, if there is a
Really?
ghetto, which there isn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, it's yeah, it's just not, it's not the North Shore. Where like North Shore is like where Ben Stiller has a house here. It's where Zuckerberg lives.
Okay.
And then we're like on the total opposite side. So it's super like it's a much hotter and drier here. It's not doesn't rain as much and stuff like that. But um yeah, it's still like that's what I wanted for my kids and even for myself, just to be able to like walk outside and there's like fresh air and the beach. And it's so community orientated here, so it's
Yeah,
super beautiful, and everybody's about family and uncles, and everybody's an uncle or an auntie. So it's really nice, and it's great to be here right now with my kids, but I think
yeah,
later on I'm definitely I don't see myself like living in Hawaii forever. That sounds like
yeah,
just ridiculous to say, like
yeah. No,
unless
no,
you're
I hear
from
you.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's
but
been
thank you so
awesome.
much, man.
Yeah, no problem. This is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, let me know, and I wanna shout it out on my Instagram and,
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, have
Yeah.
everybody come check it out for sure.
No, it'd be really cool. Well,
Yeah.
enjoy the weather. Why it was actually warm in Jersey today. It was like 60, and now it's like really cold. But
Oh my God, 60? I would be like, it
oh, I
gets
bet
like
you'd be
70.
freezing.
It gets like
Yeah.
73 here, and we're like, time to put on our jackets. Like, it's
Yeah.
so
Well, that's why it's been
ridiculous.
because it like 60's hot because it's been
That's
like
crazy.
50s, like 45, 50 for a couple weeks, but
Yeah.
weather's so weird. But yeah, I want to go to Hawaii.
And
My wife's been there, so the kids get a little bit older.
sweet.
We did the California plane and they did really good. So just what's another few months, hours,
Yeah, exactly.
All
If you
right.
could
Well, have a good
survive
rest of
like
your
6
night.
hours with a kid on a
Yeah.
plane, you can survive another 6.
Oh man. Ugh, that was okay. It was actually better than I thought it was gonna be. But yeah. Have a good rest of your night. It was great talking to you. All right, bye.